What are some other common sources of conflict that present to you?
For couples?
Yeah. Because you're a couples therapist, right?
Yes. Yes, I did my research in emotionally focused couples therapy as well. So my PhD research is along that. And then I've been working with couples for almost 20 years, which is just wild. And, I think a lot of people will say, well, tell me what's the common thing? And we can go to those 5 factors: extended family, sex, communication, finances, kids. And yet it's so interesting because everyone comes into my office and I've heard it all. We're fighting over how to boil water. We're fighting over the right way to slice a carrot. And underneath that, I see something so much different. We all have these triggers, and then they lead us to get into our own stories and assumptions and perceptions about our partner that often aren't even true. They come from our histories. It's like, I roll up with my suitcase here and I've got all my baggage in there. And if I haven't unpacked it, I'm not going to understand what's triggering between me and you. And then underneath all of that, it comes back to our attachment, longings, and needs. And so at the core of every argument I hear, do I matter to you? Am I important? Will you turn to me? Am I adequate? Am I enough? Am I worthy? And that's what our core conflicts are all about. Just knowing, when I walk into the room, are you going to put your phone down and pay attention to me? And every time you don't, what a message that sends to my brain.
Would you say that that's a uniquely female take on conflict in relationship, or do men typically, does that truth hold true for men as well?
It holds true for men as well, because we're all attachment beings. From cradle to grave, we seek connection from our caregivers. As a baby, we don't hold our babies out like this. There, you're good. We hold them here, right? Your nieces, you're going to give them a big hug. You're going to swing them around. And if they're crying, you squeeze them in. That's closeness. We never lose that longing to be close and to be seen. It's for men and women. I think for a lot of men, they push it away and say that that's not what they need. Or there's so much fear and shame underneath there. And shame often lives right beside vulnerability. And it's so hard then to be vulnerable in relationships.
Wow. What were the 5 major sources of conflict that you listed again? One was sex, one was...
Sex, finances, communication, extended family, and...
I don't know if it was 5.
No, I did say 5. There's 5. Finances.
Finance.
Did I say 5? Yeah. Sex, finances, extended family, kids, communication. And every couple comes into my therapy room saying, we want to learn how to communicate better. We want to feel more connected. Isn't that interesting? That really is at the core of what people are saying.
What are some ways to communicate that in the middle of conflict? Like say you're arguing about the proper way to peel a carrot. How do you pump the brakes and show the person that you're quarreling with, what truly matters in that moment?
The first piece is always, how do we stop this cycle between us? We have to recognize that we're in a cycle and we have to pause it. Because when you're in it, you're often arguing from your egos. You're arguing from what you believe to be right or wrong. And people love to be right. And we choose that over choosing connection. And if we can then pause what's happening, then we can make our next choice. But you have to slow it down. And then oftentimes that's then the self-reflective piece of, what's happening for me here? This isn't really about the carrots. And when people get frustrated or angry, I ask them, slow this down and ask yourself, what's underneath this? Anger and frustration are secondary emotions. They're not the core of it. They're easier feelings. I remember working with one man in therapy for years, and he would always respond with, well, I'm frustrated. So when your partner comes to you, what are you feeling? Frustrated. Okay, frustrated, sad, frustrated, anxious, frustrated, alone.
Men need broader emotional vocabularies.
And it's so important. And this isn't just, here's this woman therapist on your podcast saying, come on, men, let's rally on the emotions. There's a reason for this. Because if you can label what the feeling is, that's like someone throwing you a life raft. It's soothing. You're like, oh, it's sadness. And so over time with this client, he learned that it was sadness when his partner came to him, because he went to that place of, I don't know how to keep her happy. And that must mean I'm not a good partner. I'm not a good husband. Totally internalizing that.
What about for people who are prone to shutting down and dissociating? That's sometimes my problem. Like I'm a fairly articulate person, I think, but in the heat of the moment in conflict and relationship, my toxic trait is I tend to dissociate, and all of the words that I would otherwise have access to, get constrained, almost like as if going through like a funnel or like a hose with a kink in it. And I shut down, and I just become unable to communicate how I'm feeling.
You become flooded in the moment. The Gottmans have done great research in their lab. It's called the Love Lab. And when they have men and women talk about a difficult conversation, men's markers, their heart rate, blood pressure, all go up through the roof. Women's increase a little bit. But for men, biologically, you go right into that I am flooded. And that flooded place it's almost like word salad, or I don't know, I'm confused. You'll notice a lot of rapid eye blinking when someone shuts down. Or I would have one man in therapy where he would cross his arms and he would look up to the ceiling. And you can imagine if you're trying to engage with me and I do this, like, what's that doing to your nervous system? You're going to say, oh, you're not paying attention to me? Why aren't you listening to me? You're crossing your arms.
That happens to me too.
Right.
I become like even eye contact becomes really difficult.
Yes.
Because I retract. I'm like, I can't even look the person in the eye.
Yeah. So your nervous system is going to this shutdown place. And I even think of this other client who would like put her hoodie on and would like go inward like this if she sensed any conflict with her partner. They're all protective mechanisms. Often they started even before this relationship that you're in. And so then your job is to learn, how do I be in my body in these moments? Because you have to understand that the moment you disconnect is the moment your partner's brain gets the signal that this is dangerous. And you'll know this with your nieces, that if you don't pay attention to the first time, they're going to pull for you a little bit more. And then when you're still looking at your phone, I don't know if you are, but if you're still like disengaged, they're going to kick you next. And then you're like, hey, don't kick. And then they're going to scream at you, right? So it's this primal panic that goes off in our partner's brain when you shut down. And so you learning to stay engaged is so important, which I know you do. You have other people on the podcast that have talked about the body work. So that's how do I go from numb, shut down to engaged? You might do co-regulation with your partner, squeeze their hand, using words so you can hear it. We're in this together. And the other thing too that I tell people, Max, is you don't have to problem solve this here, but you have to let your partner know where you are. And so we talk about walking around it. You say to them, I'm just going to let you know that I've just completely shut down. This isn't because I don't want to do this with you. This is just where my brain and body go. So I want you to know this is where I'm at, and I'm going to maybe go take 20 minutes. I'll go for the walk and then we'll come back to it. But for those who shut down, you have to come back to it.
Yeah. Well, I love what you just said about, I guess a way to describe it would be productive distance. Like actually pressing stop or pause and leaving the situation and going for a walk, or maybe even getting a good night's sleep and then coming back.
And you might do it by yourself, or some people can do it together. Go for a walk and hold your partner's hand, or squeeze their shoulder and say, we're in this together. That right there is so soothing for the nervous system. It could even be, I remember with one client, we just worked on doing shoulder rolls. So rolling her shoulders back to stay engaged. But every time you practice something new, your brain is then going to start saying, okay, you know what? This isn't dangerous. And also too, it's so powerful when you can say to yourself, my partner is trying to connect with me right here. This isn't dangerous. She wants my connection. And if you could view that, even though sometimes it's hard because if they have anger or vitriol in their voice, you're like, no, I'm out, shutting down. But if you can say to yourself, okay, no, she's trying to reach for me. And that's what I want to do too. It's all about connection.
Oh, man.
Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.